mentioned, we're going to put some modern lighting in the laundry room. Behind me, what you see here is a single, sad little lone light bulb in our laundry room. Laundry room is a utility room, and it, like a lot of 1960s, 70s Brady Bunch houses, laundry room is a utility room in the garage. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like one of these laundry room remodel videos. I'm just going to add some better lighting. Let me show you. So when you walk into our laundry room, and I apologize again, and I haven't unpacked my microphones yet, so I don't know where they are, and this furnace in the utility room is awfully loud, so just have to bear with me for a minute. So welcome to the laundry room. I'll give you the tour. It has a water heater, has a furnace, it has a washer and a dryer, an old kitchen cabinet, upper cabinet. The main feature of today is this sad lone little light bulb here that I want to replace with these Amazon specials. These are the little wafer 6-inch canless can lights. They're LED, and they're powered by this little box here that they come with, and you just run your power wires into, if I can get it open, run your power wires into this little box here. These even come with little push-on connectors. You will need a few items to get this chore done. First of all, you'll need the wafer lights. You'll need a couple of grommets that go in the punch-outs where you run your wires into the power supply boxes that they come with. In my case, I'm going to replace that single light bulb with a blank. So I'm just going to cover up the old light box. I'm going to leave it there and just put a blank over it. You'll need some sort of wire cutters, obviously, a pencil to mark your location. I'm going to use touchless power indicator just to make sure the power's off, because a lot of times in these old houses, the power's not labeled right, and God only knows what other wires will be in this light box. So you want to make sure that all the power is off. You might need a little electrical tape. Definitely going to need a little bit of wire. This is just 14-2, and you're going to need some wire nuts or some push-on connectors to get this done. Now you can use a keyhole saw, a razor blade, or any number of ways to cut the drywall to install your wafer light. And again, the beauty of these wafer lights is they're not any thicker than the drywall that they're going to be mounted in. So it doesn't matter where you put them. You don't need a space between the ceiling joists or a lot of area, a lot of access to put them there. They're only about as thick as the drywall, so they'll fit anywhere. You can use any number of implements of destruction to cut the drywall out. I happen to have a 6-inch hole saw that I can use. I'm going to use my drill. You just have to be really careful because it'll like to break your wrist if it grabs. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and replace the switch because the switch is yellowed and it's really gross. And same with the outlet behind the washer there. It's really old and disgusting. And so while the power's off, I'm going to go ahead and replace all that stuff too. Let's get started.
Actually, before we get started, there's a couple things to consider before you lay your lights out where you want them. Consider the light output, light color, and things like that. Now, this is a utility room, laundry room off the garage. Really doesn't matter where my lights go. They're going to light up the room much better than this lone light bulb, and it's going to look a lot better, and it's going to look a lot more modern. And it really doesn't matter where they go. But if you were laying lights out, say, in your kitchen, you would want to consider shadows and blocking and how much light and that sort of thing. For example, we have, if this washing machine was your countertop and you mounted your lights too close to the wall, your upper cabinets might block a lot of your lighting. Or if you mount it just where you're standing and not over the countertop, you're going to create a shadow in your workspace where you're trying to chop vegetables or make coffee, and you may not be able to see what you're doing when you're standing there trying to work in your kitchen. So depending on the room, you want to consider your light layout. Now, this is a very small, probably a 9 by 5 room. And so all I'm doing is I'm adding 2 lights, and I'm cutting the room into thirds, putting light equidistant from the walls. That's all I'm doing in this room. But do consider your light layout if you're going to add a bunch of canless lights in a room.
Now, I may or may not have mentioned in this video, I know I've mentioned in prior videos, that this is a 1970s house along the Georgia coast, so it is slab on grade. So all of the wires come from the attic, and there is a little bit of access from above. There's access to the entire attic from above, but we're very close to the wall right there, and it's a very low pitch roof, so there's not a lot of room in this corner, so we're going to try and access everything from here.
We're going to take this light out. Because it's a 1970s slab house, the power either comes to this junction box and runs down to the switch, or it comes down to the switch and runs back up to this junction box. We're going to find out which one it is. First things first, let's use this non-contact tester to see if there's any power in this box. And fortunately, there's not. So it looks like I've killed all the power in this box. And it does indeed look like power runs to this junction box first. If you see this white wire tied to all the other black wires, that's an indication that that's a switch leg. So what that means is the power runs into this box, and then the hot, they connected this white wire to the hot, and then they ran a white and a black down to the switch and switched it, and the black wire runs back, and that's what's tied to the light, is a white and a black, just like normal, only it's a switch leg because the power comes to the junction box first. So we're going to cut this light loose. So it's going to be a little dark and shadowy, apologies. Of course, when the power's out, there's no lights. But I'm also going to undo these straps in this box and run my new wires through and strap them down as intended. So we're going to take these little straps out because I'm going to connect to where the old light used to be, and I'm going to run a new wire over to where the new light's going, and I'm going to run a new wire over to where the other new light's going, and that will conclude our new light. With the strain relief out of the way, I can knock the plugs out, and it's going to be hard to see here, but there was a couple of plugs not knocked out in this box, so I've knocked them out, and there we go. It's out of the way. So now I can run my new wires out of this box appropriately. Drilling the holes for these lights exposes the true beauty of these little wafer thin lights. They fit within the thickness of the drywall. So even if your measurements fall right on a ceiling joist, doesn't matter. The light will still fit right where you want it, even if there's a ceiling joist above. I do have to, of course, remove the screw or the nail that I exposed, but once that's gone, the light will fit perfectly fine right where it is. With the holes drilled at the location of the lights, the only thing that's left to do is to run the wires through. Now, fishing wires can be tricky. Sometimes it's as easy as reaching in and grabbing the wire from the other side and pulling it through, like this side. Sometimes it's not so easy, and you have to spend a minute wriggling the wire, moving it around, twisting it around, hoping that it'll pop through the hole that you intended it to pop through. Sometimes you'll have to use a fish tape or a glow stick or some other coat hanger or some other method to get the wire where you need it. These lights are not very far apart, and they're not very far from this old junction box. So I was essentially able to put them in, start in the junction box, push them into the attic, wiggle them around until I could grab them and pull them out. So it worked out fairly well. And again, I have attic above. If you have flooring above or something else, you may have to approach this from a different angle. I'm just using my wire strippers here to strip back the sheathing on the wires and to strip all the ends off to expose all the copper before I start using on the push-on connectors. Now, I know push-on connectors get a lot of hate. You can tell me how horrible they are in the comments, but that's what I'm using because anytime there's 3 or 4 or more wires, I have a hard time stuffing them into a wire nut. So I'm using push-on connectors.
I'm just using 4-connector push-on, white. Is it white? White to white, white to white, white to white. Black to black, black to black, black to black. Yeah. Now we're going to tie all of our crowns together. Still have to bond the metal box. Put that back when we're done. Let's push these wires in there where they'll be out of the way, comfy. Wrapped up around there. Nicely bonded. Here we go. Alright, box is bonded. Now I'm just going to prep this box. Getting rid of the plug. Taking that out. connectors it came with, push-on connectors it came with. One there, one black, one brown, and one white. These also have room to forward home runs elsewhere. And what I'm going to do before we put this up there is put on a grommet or a little guard. I can't remember the technical term for them. And this will keep your wire from getting cut up on these sharp metal edges. So let's put it on. Wires into my box. There we go. Let's do color match. Do white to white. Black to black. Let's do ground to ground. Push it all together. Close the lid. Close nice. Let's connect our little flitchy here together. Push this into the hole. Does not need to be mounted. I'm going to slide this right over. There we go. And that one is complete. Let's do the other side and we'll call it done.
Okay, let's flip the breaker and see what happens. Well, no sparks or pops yet. Drum roll, please. Boom! Holy cow, look at that. This really is bright, really is modern looking. I think this is really going to improve the lighting in the laundry room, and I'll be able to see what's going on. I'll be able to see what's clean and dirty. If I'm working on the utilities, I'll be able to do that. So this project, without breaking my arm, patting myself on the back, I think is a success. All I need to do now is install the cover over the junction box, and while I'm installing that and replacing the receptacle and the switch and the receptacle behind the washer, you can do this a number of ways. If you don't want a blank cover over your junction box, you can push your junction box up into the attic, flip it over, put a lid on it, and drywall over the hole in the ceiling. You just never want to cover wire connections in a wall or hide them. They always need to be accessible. It's not safe. Don't do it. Never bury wire connections in a wall or in an inaccessible area. But beyond that, if you have any questions, please consult a professional, an electrician, or somebody that knows what they're doing. Do as I say and not as I do. Other than that, please leave comments, likes, or anything below. It was fun doing this with you, and look forward to talking to you on the next one. Thanks.